let's do this. Okay, let's do this a little bit differently. This might be a bit abstract for some, but we love abstract. So this is a red sphere or a red circle. Inside of my heart there is a blue square. Inside of your body there is a red sphere or a red circle somewhere. Sense it, feel it, smell it, taste it, notice it, imagine it, see it, right? And now on the outside of you, if you scan your physical reality in a two-dimensional way, there is something that appears to be a blue rectangle or a blue square, or whatever it is, even if it's approximate, but there is something that is blue around you. You see it? Good. Okay. Welcome to my multidimensional living room. There is something that nobody asked at this point, but I feel the need to explain it at least once in the history and making of this channel, and that is that I know you like tarot readings. I like tarot readings too. They're kind of like ASMR for the soul, aren't they? But ever since I started doing this channel, I noticed that I noticed that way much before, but in this channel it became an elephant in the room kind of a thing, and that is the world speaks to you and to me all the time. Everything has a power to speak to you. Any object, any person, any plant, any animal, breeze of air, anything can speak to you. It doesn't have to be a tarot card. So even if I don't have tarot cards in front of me, there is something that might be applicable to you and to your situation and your structure of being and your whatever you are going through. The narrative of who you are, what you're going through, what's happening to you, in this video I leave that up to you. The visions and topics that I'm going to share and transmit to you, they're going to be like tetris pieces or like puzzle pieces that you can try to incorporate into your reality, your sense of self, your structure of being, your situation, and see how it fits. See how it helps you orient yourself. See how it helps you to navigate your existence. And if it fits, great. And if it doesn't, then leave it and somebody else will play with them. Okay? That works for literally every other video where I don't have tarot cards right in front of me, where I'm just telling you what I see. I hope that helps. Other than that, I was wondering, is it really necessary to repeat in every single video like I see many others do? Something along the lines, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Sometimes it feels offensive for me to say it because I assume that I'm speaking to somebody who already has their sovereignty, their agency, their discernment in place, and I don't need to tell you what to do. But then, as I was wondering about it, I've been filming an art performance outside on a public space, and it was obvious that we're filming, it was obvious that we're doing something, it was obvious that we're people having cameras around and there was a show going on. And most of the people, 90% of the people, they saw what's going on, they took photos from a side, they maybe said some compliments, maybe they didn't say anything, they just mind their own business. In other words, they remained respectful and acknowledging to what's going on. But there was a group of 15-year-olds who saw what's going on. They saw from afar. Because I was on a tower, I saw that they saw us. And they started walking directly onto us. And so I kind of fell out of the character for a second because they started going to my friend directly, and I thought they're going to ask something or they're going to say something or in any way, shape or form they were about to interrupt the recording. So I stopped. They didn't ask anything. They just shamelessly walked into the set and just passed through without any conversation, without any acknowledgement. What they were actually doing in front of our cameras was they were throwing chewing gums on one another, and they were eating chips and throwing it, and screaming and laughing and teasing one another, just like children do. And I was looking at them with this eyes of, excuse me? And my friend told me, yeah, these are like puberty humans. They know nothing. Of course they don't have common sense. But in that moment it was clear to me that, although 90% of the people, they will just take what resonates. And they will have respect and acknowledgement for another being, for them doing their job, for them appearing how they need to appear in this moment. They will know how to dance. There are always going to be people who won't. So in one way or another, I must let you know, if you vibe with being here, welcome. There is space for you here. And if you don't, please invest your time and energy into something else. That all being said, as I was being on the tower and recording the art performance, I was getting a vision of life trajectory. It's not a particular life trajectory in terms of your money or your career or your love life or your something specific. It's all-encompassing. And that life trajectory has left side and the right side, left from where I'm standing and speaking right now. And the middle of it is your life energy, moving from left to right, from left to right, from left to right, from left to right, and going in a direction of that trajectory. So it has a beginning and it has an end, and it has left and right and left and right and left and right, like a snake. Which tells me that there are two realities very close to one another. They're not the same. Through the snake, they are the same because it's a one lifeline. But they seem to be one next to another, very close to one another, touching one another, but there is kind of like an invisible membrane in the middle, slightly separating them. On the big scale from the outside, they are not separate. They're in one life trajectory. So the left side, I'm going to describe it in artistic vocabulary because that's very known to me. The left reality is where everything happens seamlessly. You don't need to think of an idea. When somebody comes with a proposal to create something with you, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to sit and try to come up with an idea or a solution. You don't have to scramble something because whatever you're working on is already happening through you. So you don't have to try to make music because music is already happening through you. You don't have to try to create a painting because painting is already externalizing itself through you. You're kind of slightly removed from the way. You don't have to struggle because everything is already happening seamlessly. There is no gap in between you and other people because you see them as yourself and yourself as them, and there is some sort of great synchronicity taking place. The air has this quality of having soap bubbles everywhere around. To you personally, that might be unicorns and rainbows, I don't know, flowers blooming everywhere, sparkles, glitters, call it as you want, but there is this some sort of like a magical fairy-like quality to that reality. And then there is another reality, which is the right side of it, where you want to do the music, you want to do the painting, you want to create something, but you can't because, and now this because takes time and space. There are obstacles, there is future, there is separation in between who you are now and who you are when you're creating. You kind of want to bridge the gap, but instead of actually bridging the gap, there are so many things from directly from you and from the outside of you that is kind of standing on the way. There might be a lot of things that were totally uninvited, but they just slip into your awareness and they take space there and they remain there. and they might also direct you towards something else or something else and something else, and then you also might be thinking, oh, I want to do the music, but I have to think about how to make it, and then while thinking about how to make it, you'll find all possible reasons why you can't make it, because you don't have a software, because you don't have an instrument, because you don't have a knowledge, because you don't have a skill, because you don't have a time, because you don't know the right people, because, and yeah, you might find yourself being lost in this, not lost, but preoccupied, existing in. This is not a bad place, it's what it is. Planning and scheduling ahead and trying to get it maybe Friday afternoon, maybe Saturday, maybe next weekend, maybe with this person, maybe with that person, maybe this way, maybe that way. But it's somehow like everything is somehow maybe-ish. Maybe-ish. You try to create, but then something stops you. There's a lot of stuff, a clutter, energetic clutter that comes in between you and that's output, whatever it is, right? And you might even know exactly how to move yourself into the left field where everything happens seamlessly. But even on the path from right to left, you may have so much clutter that stops you from actually being there. What I was shown with this snake going from left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right, the left side is full of colors. And those colors are being picked up along the way and then slightly left into the right field, which kind of reminds me of this balance symbol where you have white with a little bit of black and black with a little bit of white. So it all kind of gets balanced in the end. In the beginning, it might seem like a very harsh reality shift. To some of you that might appear back in the past. But now it's already that there is a balance in between left and right and left and right and left and right. And maybe already the life energy has moved left to right so many times that the border between left and right is somehow not so straight anymore. It is like in the balance symbol. It's a little bit wavy. And the gap between left and right is narrowed. There is some sort of like a convergence point where the left and right has been blended into one. If this life trajectory is, let's imagine it like this for a second, and the snake goes, and the life energy goes left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right in this direction, the awareness of your life trajectory has been lifted up here. And from this point, you don't see left and right anymore. It's just one trajectory going that way. To people who are on the right side, predominantly, and who have experienced brief visitation of the left side, and they wonder how to make it more left and how to ground the left thing into the time and space when they find themselves in the right side. Because on the right side, when you're on the right side, you get the awareness of not being on the left side. When you're on the left side, you don't have the awareness of not being on the right side because you are fully on the left side. You don't get the awareness of how you want to do the music because the music is already happening. When you're on the right side, you get the awareness that you don't have the music. You would like to have music, but you don't have it yet because it's somewhere there in the future. Right. This is a point where I could tell you that so many other people already told you so many times and you've heard it and you know it yourself and we're just repeating something that has been said over and over again. Meditate, go to nature, eat well, practice something, do yoga, whatever. But at this point it seems as it's not really about the rigid discipline and the structure. It's about allowing the ebb and flow to take its place as it should. And sometimes it's easier to just implement one simple unit of the structure rather than the entire structure. You don't necessarily need to sign into yoga classes, into meditation classes, and devote 7 hours per week grounding the left side into the right, or like finding the balance in between. Sometimes it's simply about one conscious breath and one yoga pose and one stretch that you can do in the moment whenever you remember it. Also, like when you're in the left side, there might be something specific that is physically oriented, some physical action, whatever speaks to you. It might be also horse riding. It might be painting, it might be gardening, whatever it is that is physically oriented, cooking intentionally, that you can do and practice doing while you're in the left side with an intention of picking up the same activity from the right side. But then when you approach it from the right side, you will approach it in its fullness, filled with energy from the left side. I'm gonna live in Finland. Another vision that I've had was, again, trajectory, but this time is a little bit more specific. So I've seen a blue rectangle, and this is your specific life trajectory that might apply to your relationship, something you want to manifest, something you're creating, a project you're working on, some financial goal that you may have for yourself, your friendship, or your whatever it is that you've already placed your life energy into this. I see it kind of like a tray. If it has to be a physical object, then it's a tray. And so within this tray, or a pool, it can also be a pool, it's like a container of energy, and your energy is already there. And the movement of that energy is, it's not slow, but it's also not fast. And it's been like this for a while. And you've had moments when you thought this is slow, and you had moments when you thought this is fast. And then you've had moments when you've been questioning it, and you had moments when you realize, like, no, this is it. I'm here. This is mine. And you're comfortable here. And you intend to be comfortable here for quite some time. But then somehow, out of nowhere, nobody asked for it, nobody ordered it, nobody saw it coming, there is neon yellow square that shows up here. And it moves very, very, very fast. And it's in your face, and it's loud, and it takes a lot of space, and it's so fast, and it really raises your energy. It kind of wakes you up from everything that was going on so far. And now, why is it here? It might be here to show you that if you thought that this is fast, it's here just to show you that no, this is fast. It might be here to make you reevaluate. Is this really where you feel comfortable? Does this make you feel more comfortable? Or does this show you that you are indeed way much more comfortable here? When something like this happens, you don't need to necessarily take one or the other. In timeline shifting language, that would be as if this was your timeline, this is where you existed, and now another timeline opened up, and you have to jump here and ditch that one, because why would this one show up if this one was okay, right? It doesn't have to be as drastic as this. This happens that you have one object here and another object here, in other language speaking, one trajectory here and another one here, so that you as an awareness, as a being that is above all of it, can orient itself in the middle, so that you can clearly see one trajectory and another trajectory, and then with one trajectory and the other one fully being soaked into your awareness, without one being fully in focus and another just in periphery. Each one gets equal amount of attention, and there is space for both of them to spread and take time and space as they need, then you can make a decision for yourself. What is it that you want? Maybe both of them open up your awareness to the point that you don't need one or the other. Maybe you, instead of yellow fast square and instead of blue semi-fast rectangle, maybe it becomes clear to you that in the space between them you have an empty space where you can welcome a red circle. Take that as it resonates. Another vision that I was having is two people in one room. One human is a normal human being. If we ask that human, how are you doing? He would say, yeah, I'm here in the room. I'm not outside of the room. That's his property. That's what makes him a human being that he is. Another human would say, I'm here in the room, but I'm also outside of the room at the same time. The energy field of this other human is way much bigger than the room that they occupy. I've literally seen the energy and the awareness and the highest point of that energy body was piercing through the ceiling, and if that was like a really big building that this room was in, then this awareness of that being was going to the 11th floor, and that being was able to see this being from the point of 11th floor. And while this person, as a human that he is, might have felt a little bit, I didn't get a sense that this person was feeling claustrophobic being in the room, but it definitely felt contained within the room. This other being, which I assume is you, because if you wouldn't have awareness and energy body that extends outside of your physical space, I assume you wouldn't be here in this channel, in this video, up until this point. This other being was able to be comfortable inside of their body, even if there was a potential of physical discomfort that was conditioned by the physical space. So one person, if there would be some sort of physical discomfort, one person would feel terrorized by it, would feel affected, would feel impacted by it, while another person could easily recognize that this is not all that the physical reality is not all that defines their experience and their being, and that there is way much more space outside of the physical reality where they can stretch themselves and make themselves feel comfortable. While you're looking at your friend from the 11th floor of your awareness, I was seeing this situation as two possible scenarios playing out. One is that your friend sees you as a physical matter, physical projector being plugged into the electricity and into the computer, streaming a film and being pointed onto the ceiling, and the film is then being projected onto the ceiling. One situation, one way how your friend sees you is that when you say, I'm an actress in a film, he says, no, you're not. You're a beam of light being projected onto the ceiling. And while you are speaking from 11th floor to your friend cannot really perceive that because he cannot see further than the ceiling. Another example is, and another trajectory of this situation is that you say to your friend, look, I don't exist. He will only see that you are an actress in a movie that is being projected onto the ceiling. In one way or another, your friend who does not have awareness expanded through the roof won't see you for exactly how and who you are. That was the vision that I had, that in the moment when it presented itself in those details, it came with no solution, and it came with no advice, and it came with no what to do about this. Because for somebody that this is relating to, this isn't even something that needs to be resolved. especially if you have codes and frequency of higher level of self-acceptance and higher level of seeing integrated within your sense of being and in your sense of self and your structure of being, then you don't see this as something that is in need of looking for a solution, because you don't even see it as a problem in the first place. Related to this, you might resonate with my video called Snake Wisdom for Disliked and Excluded, which isn't just for disliked and excluded people, it's also for people who are misunderstood in any way, shape or form. It literally speaks about the higher level of self-acceptance that a being needs to have within themselves, ideally, in order to move through life and navigate challenges. And so when this is already in place, then when somebody doesn't see you for how you know yourself to be, this isn't really a problem for you anymore. Because you see where they're coming from, you see you where you're coming from, you see the gap, and you also have compassion for it all. This vision showed up a few days ago, and I took a few days to recalibrate myself after receiving all those visions to be able to transmit the message to you. And while I was in this process, in the meantime, I had a dream in which I was in front of the door, and the door had a key in the lock, and the moment when I touched the key disappeared, and I was able to see through that door and the door behind and the door behind and the door behind, and there were 11 doors that I was able to see through. And what I've seen on the other side was that there were beings. Behind the last door there were 3 beings. They were very colorful, and they had a certain energetic charge to them. Not gonna go into details. I don't think it fits YouTube's rules of how to talk in public. Anyway, I'll leave it to your imagination what these beings were. They were not evil. And also, by the way, they were not evil, but they were able to see me. Just like I was able to see through the doors, they were able to see through the doors. So I was seen and they were seen. We were seeing each other in between all the walls and all the doors that were in between us. As I said, they were not evil, but they were not friendly either. They had a certain agenda towards me, and I felt the need to protect myself. So in that dream, I went to the marketplace where I was inspecting what type of a weapon I can buy to protect myself. And I didn't buy any weapon because I realized there's no point of buying any weapon, because these people can see through the matter. So anything material is just pointless to use for protection, because I cannot hide. When I woke up, it was very clear to me that what this dream was pointing at, and it was pointing at that in the physical realm, we have a lot of physical tools that we use in order to protect ourselves, and we have to. Right? We have Palo Santo, we have sage, we have stones, we have crystals, we have tarot cards, we have jewelry, we have anything. Literally, you can use any single physical object. If you just charge it with your own protective energy, that it will be reflected back to you. You can use anything to protect yourself. And there is nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong with it. Actually, you need to protect yourself while entering other spaces. It is heavily advised that you do so. But then there's also a point that you inevitably reach when it is expected of you to have a certain level of protection woven into the fabric of your being. You need to have some level of protection in the structure of your being, in who you are, in what you're about, in what you want, what you don't want. You need to have a clear vision of what is it that you tolerate, what is it that you don't tolerate, what is it that you want, what is it that you don't want, what is it that you vibe with, what is it that you don't vibe with. You need to be able to set those boundaries for yourself, and more importantly, you also have to be able to communicate them clearly. Why is this important? Is because inevitably you might find yourself in times and spaces and realms and dimensions where you won't have your tools to protect you. Of course, when you are here on Earth, you have to interact with the physical realm, but it kind of calls for loosening the dependence on the physical objects, if that applies to you. If you're totally about physical objects, this might not be your puzzle piece. It reminds me, and it brings me back in time and space a little bit, when I was told by one of my spiritual teachers at the time, which was many years ago, when you're communicating with multidimensional beings and beings from other realms, you don't have to be afraid of them, because they are not here to harm you, unless you let them. And she also added on top of that, she said, it's the same like in physical realm, you know, people can harm you only if you let them. And that was ridiculous to me at that point, because at that point when I was younger, it seemed to me that anybody could harm you if they want to, on all possible levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, astrally. Anybody can come and hit you in the face if they want to. But over time I realized that actually you also are here to have accountability for yourself. Being able to go into spaces and have yourself together somehow, to be not easily intimidated, does not allow you at the same time to embody a brat energy and just go wherever and be like, yeah, nothing's gonna hurt me because I'm invincible. You, by all means, you need to have some respect for yourself first and foremost, and then also for everybody else that you encounter in the physical realm and in the astral realm, or wherever realm that you are visiting and encountering. It also comes down to your beliefs. So if you believe that something external from you, another dimensional being or a person or something, can take your energy, then it will. If you believe that something can take your energy only if you allow it, then it will. In the second case, if you really believe that nothing can take your energy unless you let it, you can believe that for yourself, but you also need to clear your spaces a little bit. You have to be responsible for yourself, which means that you need to have some sort of mental discipline to what are you entertaining and what you are not. You can't claim that nothing is going to take your energy and then spend days and months and all your free times wondering about somebody that is trying to steal your energy and entertaining all possible, why are they doing this and what if and what this, and if I do this, will they still... You don't do such things. You have very clear discipline within yourself and hygiene on all possible levels. Not like, you don't have to be like OCD type of a hygiene person, but you need to know some sort of things, like what works for you and what really doesn't. And be really clear and transparent with yourself. Like what is here to help you, to assist you, to support you, and to add to you, and what is it that takes away from you in a way that you're kind of hiding from yourself. Setting boundaries in other dimensions when you're encountering other dimensional beings might appear even easier than it is in the physical realm, because in other dimensions you don't have the dimension of time. So when you encounter another other dimensional being, and if you have a sense that something is off, you don't feel them, you're not really able to clearly see what their intentions are, why are they here, what do they want from you, they don't fully clearly communicate with you, something seems to be off in one way or another, you don't have to give them the benefit of the doubt. You can clearly say within yourself or outside, however it calls in the situation, you can clearly say, you are free and welcome to be here and to interact with me, but only and exclusively only if you're here for my highest good. Something like this. You can create your own protective mantra or whatever that you can communicate to that being if you're not certain if they're here for you or not. They will answer to you, or they will just disappear. The best thing about encountering other dimensional beings and setting boundaries with them is that if you set boundaries and you clearly communicate them, they have no other choice but to respect them. So in the moment when you say a word that is supposed to repel them, they disappear in an instant, in a moment. You see them in one moment, and in another moment they're gone, completely gone. You don't see a trace of them. While in the physical realm, you may set a boundary with somebody and they will, try to cross it. And then you'll be like, no, I set a boundary here. And they're like, oh, yeah, I see that you've set a boundary, but I just want a little bit of, no, there's a boundary. And they will try to cross it until they get it, or until you build a wall instead of a boundary. I think that was it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. And ciao.